Welcome back to the Compressor Guru. Today is part 2 of our maintenance man and how to organize everything and plan the maintenance in your larger factory. So we're very happy to have Troy back with us again, but right now I'll just turn it over to the guys, and here is the Compressor Guru.
In part 2, we once again have Troy from Drucker Diagnostics, and we really appreciate you coming back.
Sure.
We really didn't have to travel far to split this up, but
Yeah, we did.
We appreciate you. Troy, last episode we went over the basic concept of the 4 things why you're setting up a maintenance system. You've got some steps, I think there's 7 steps to the key steps to launching a PM program.
Right, correct.
And I cheated because I read that off the paper.
That's fine, because that's what I'm going to do.
Troy, what do you have for us we got 7 steps here.
Okay, 7 steps, 7 key steps. Number 1 is to set your goals for your program. Okay, we talked about this in episode 1, but it's important for everyone to be on the same page and to have clear goals to work towards. That way everybody's on the same mindset, working towards the same goals. It's just going to make things so much easier, so much smoother. So you want to ask yourself, what problems are we trying to solve here? What's our main goals? And with that question, you could all come to an answer to work towards.
Well, that answer varies on the person. The owner says, I want to make money.
Sure.
The manager of the company says, I want less headaches from the boss and the employees. You say, I want to be able to go home at 4:30 or 5 o'clock like I'm supposed to. So everybody has different goals, but we all need to get on the same goal.
Right.
Yes.
Those are all very valid,
Yes.
by the way. But it's a compromise, just like anything else. And it's the communication. Okay, everybody's got to be talking and explaining why those goals are important to them, and there's got to be compromise, and basically it's got to work for everybody in the company to move forward in a good way,
Everybody in the food chain gets what they need.
Yeah, absolutely, really, and that's what it's about. It's more or less communication and figuring out what exactly we're doing here, why we're doing it, and how we're going to do it. And it's sitting down and talking about that. That's number 1. That's to set your goals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and number 2 is you got to inventory your assets. So you got to know what what you're going to be having in this PM program, and that could be simply a model number, serial number, just a list. Gather your list of assets together and know which ones you're going to be putting in here. But number 3.
Well, when you, back to number 2.
Yes.
So inventory your assets. You've already prioritized your assets, right?
Well, no, that's coming up number 3.
Oh, okay. Go to number 3.
Number 3. Okay. So yes, with number 2, you have your inventory. You have you have all your equipment listed, your model numbers, serial numbers. And then number 3 is going to be, you got to figure out which ones are critical, okay? So you got to do analysis to figure out what equipment is critical to the process and is not going to shut down things down the line. Something's going to take down your plant, like an air compressor, for instance.
We mentioned that.
Okay, yes, that's critical. That's super critical. That's going to go right up the top of my list.
Right.
So that's something you want to do because you don't want to get overwhelmed by having all this equipment you have to enter right now. You can start with critical,
right?
Okay. And number 4 is to define the maintenance tasks and triggers for those critical assets. Okay.
So you've got. I understand the task. The task is changing the oil, tightening the belts, doing this, doing that. That's the task. But what's the trigger?
So the trigger is going to be one of the 3. It could be time-based. It could be a usage-based, or it could be a condition-based trigger, okay? In other words, what's the frequency, or when is this thing going to be needing the oil change?
Right.
That task. How often does this task happen? Does it happen, is it every every month, or is it a mileage thing?
I have an example. I have a customer that has two 20-horse Ingersoll screws, and they run 24 hours a day, one at a time, for a week at a time, and the service interval on them is every 2,000 hours. 2,000 hours works out to 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, 1 year. But since this is in a 24-hour plant, that they run every other week, 24 hours a day, one at a time, they watch the hour meters, and when they get to 1,800 hours, they call and say, it's time to get us in the schedule. In the next 2 weeks, we're going to hit 2,000 hours on each of these machines. Now that's the trigger for that customer, and it requires them, they look at the machine several times a day, but it requires them to, they keep a log of the hours on the machine. They actually have a paper log in a sleeve, and they watch that, and they know that at 42,000 hours, the guru better show up and change oil. So they know at 41,800 hours, they better call me and get me in the schedule to get down there. And that's the kind of triggers you're talking about. And that, it's hours, it's time, but it's also...
That would be usage.
It's a usage, but it's a very odd usage because it's 24 hours a day, and it's a 2,000 hour thing, but it's not a straight 2,000 hours, it's a 4,000 hour, and they can shut down during outages too.
Right.
So it's a very odd trigger, but that's what you're talking about. Triggers.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. So that's a good example of a usage type trigger. The time-based trigger would be more like every month, the second Tuesday of every month.
Right.
Okay. And the condition trigger would be if this happens, then...
Well, I have a condition trigger that you may not be thinking of because we have a lot of sawmill customers.
Okay.
And the sawmill customers, you wouldn't believe how much you have to watch the filters, the air filters, not as much the oil. We try to put we try to put internally breathed compressors in the sawmills because you don't want them breathing the sawdust and all the
environment.
The environment into the crankcase. But you're always checking filters, and that's a matter of check it, blow it out, check it, change it. And that's a condition-based trigger.
Yep, that's a great example of condition-based trigger, yes. Yep. So you look at that dirty air filter and you say, hey, it's time.
We can blow this out one more time,
right.
Or no.
Right. But it's based on a condition.
Right.
The condition is the air filter.
Right.
Yeah. So, good example.
Okay.
All right, let's move on. So, the next thing you want to do is write your PM checklist, okay? So, checklists are important because you don't want to forget something, right? And it's easy to do, especially when you got a lot of equipment and everything's moving at a fast pace. It's good to have that checklist. That way you can go right down the checklist and make sure that you're getting everything that needs to be checked. So yeah, it's simple, but it's effective.
We mentioned the checklist in the last episode.
Absolutely.
And it really works.
Yes, it does. It's the simple things like that are huge, really. So, okay, compile documentation in one directory. Okay, so now let's say there's several technicians. You know, each technician is keeping their own notes, and they're kind of not sharing. That could be problematic.
Let me ask you, do you have a logbook for each machine, or do you have a logbook that's, I assume you have a logbook. How do you log stuff then?
Okay, well, this changed through the years, you know. Right now, so it's all going to a file on the computer that everybody has access to. In the past, it was all pen and paper, and there was a composition book at each machine, and it was done that way. Right. But regardless,
with the digital age,
everything's going digital. It just makes sense. But however it works best for you, that's how you need to implement it. You know, and as your company grows, you could certainly change. You know,
and there's a lot of products out there that will sell you maintenance programs, that will sell you the electronic logs and have a plug in the numbers to it, and then start keeping track.
Yeah,
there are a lot of programs.
There's
out
something to work for every size company here.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. There's something out there for your particular needs.
Right. And we're not selling any of that here. We're giving you
Yes.
overalls.
Yep. Yeah, and it's just it's important either way. However you do it, it's important to do.
Yep.
Okay.
So you got your directory, you got your logbook. What's next?
Okay. Number 7 is to train all of the technicians to the same SOPs, right? So everybody has the same procedure with equipment. So there's not one technician doing it a certain way, another technician doing it a different way. Everybody's on the same page and they're being trained. Training is important. It's very important.
I got rules for life. Bud's rule number 4 is never stop learning.
That's right. That's right. Never stop learning. That's a good rule. I like that rule a lot. As a matter of fact.
I like that rule a lot.
Yeah.
But it's only rated at number 4.
Well.
So that's 7 steps of how to set up your preventative maintenance system. Now, there's software out there, but you don't have to buy software. If you're a one-man shop, if you're a part-timer, if you're a hobby guy, get a notebook, get a logbook. But if you're in a situation like him, I'm sure there's software out there that's going to be pushed on you, and you want to make sure you pick it right. But beyond that, now we've talked about the preventative maintenance. Let's talk about the unpreventable. How do you set your priorities when you have 3 machines stop at one time? What do you do? And you got a couple guys in the department, you got 3 or 4 machines down, and these days do happen.
Yes, they do. Unfortunately, they do happen, but that's part of the deal. So how do you prioritize something like that? Well, I guess experience and knowledge of the system, the way things move through is beneficial, because somebody's gonna have to decide what's gonna have to be fixed first,
Right.
and
Well,
what makes sense.
Well, what in my little mind? Well, if the air compressor runs the whole plant and it's down, you got to fix that first. But what if you had something that's going to take 3 minutes to reset a breaker, and they could actually go back to packaging without the air compressor? I mean, the air compressor might take you an hour.
Right.
So,
That's a tough one. So I mean, that's where I said the experience really comes into play there, because that's going to be something you just kind of feel. You got to know how things move in the company.
And with 11 years experience, you
just kind of
you develop that.
Absolutely.
I ask you a really tough question.
Intentionally. It's hard to put into words how to take care of that, but yeah, prioritize it. Experience is the best thing I could say for that, because that experience is going to give you the answer.
Yep.
And that's basically it.
Okay. Now, we've been working over the years together since you've been there. How long has the plant been there?
That's a good
I
question.
was there at the beginning, but I didn't figure out when they started.
I think, I'm going to guess, I don't know the exact answer, but I think 25 years-ish.
That's probably
Yeah.
right. Anyway, so we've been working together for 11 years since you've been out there. That being said, have I ever not tried to educate you? And what I mean by that is, hey, you can do this real easy. You don't need to spend my road rate to come over to the plant and turn a bolt or make an adjustment or any of that. When we talk, it's like, just pull that off, bring it in. You don't want to spend the money me coming over there.
Right.
like I said before, Bud's rule number 4 is never stop learning.
That's right.
It's really one of the key things to this channel. When I set up with YouTube, this is an education channel, and we're here for the DIY guys. Sure, we answer some professional answers. We answer the DIY guys. Maintenance guys get into doing a valve job on a 2545. He's got a bunch of them. They get into doing that, and they get it, open up the head, and they go, uh-oh, and they go to YouTube, they find our channel. We're about helping you learn. One way we can help you learn is like and subscribe. We're really glad Troy was here today. Troy, I thank you very much.
Thank you, Bud.
We appreciate you coming in.
Sure.
We're actually filming this on a Sunday because that man's too busy to leave work, and we appreciate you giving up part of your
Absolutely,
Sunday.
man, and I appreciate you. You've definitely been beneficial to my role at the company, helping me, like you just said. That's huge for me because I don't always have that kind of help, and that to me is very, very important that I'm doing it right and doing it right the first time. So when I reach out to you and you got those answers for me, that's a good thing.
One of the things we want to do is we want to educate the maintenance guys, the service guys. We want to educate them so that when they need to do something, they can do it. And they can call and say, hey, Bud, I need parts. Ship them right over to you, no problem. You'll have them tomorrow.
Yep.
And we sell parts for almost everything you've ever seen us work on this channel. And by educating you, we cut down the company expenses, we keep the boss happy, we keep the manager happy, we keep you happy, and you know more, you get more done, and we have a good customer, and it works out for everyone.
It's a win-win.
Yeah.
Win-win.
That's it. Thank you.
Oh, wait, I have to interject something.
Oh, okay.
I'm really
You've
happy.
been really quiet.
I have been. I've been very good. I've been well behaved through these episodes. But I have to say, I'm glad you said that we're kind of doing some of these on the same day. Because although you always wear the same shirt, Bud, people think you only have one, but you have like 7 of them or 10 of them.
I probably
But,
have 12 of these.
Poor Troy. Everybody thinks the only shirt he owns is this one
This
that he
one.
has on right now. That is not the case. Okay, go ahead, dear.
Thank you. God bless. Like and subscribe, and have a great day.